are not your thoughts. I know it sounds crazy, right? Like, if I'm not my thoughts, then what am I? When you start to think about the ideas that are rolling through your head, and if you think about how often we as human beings attach to these thoughts without even thinking about it, and then what if the thought is dysfunctional? What if the thought is completely reactive? No, we are not our thoughts. And the crazy thing is that so many of us are running around thinking we are our thoughts. Or worse, we're not even asking ourselves, who am I? What am I? And what's happening in between my ears. I realize that I am not my thoughts. I'm not even my feelings. I am the awareness of both my thoughts and feelings, and neither have to control me, and neither has to control you. You can gain control over your emotions. You can even learn to flow your thoughts in a positive direction. Hard to believe that that's true, but it is. And so no, you are not your thoughts, and you are not your feelings. These are experiences. Learning to use mindfulness as a tool really allows you to gain control over your emotions and even over your thoughts. It is mind-boggling and quite exciting when you realize that you can observe a thought and you can even observe a feeling, and you don't have to react to either. Now, in order to get to that point on the spiritual path to enlightenment, or for those of you who are struggling with codependency, who are trying to heal from narcissistic abuse, this is not easy because we have subconscious programming. Remember, the mind is 95% unconscious, or so they say, which means that the average human being is 5% conscious, which isn't a whole lot. You have to understand that a belief will always win out over the will. Now, beliefs are subconscious. The will is conscious. So your belief will always win out over the will. So the question then becomes, well, how do I become aware of the beliefs that are rolling around in my head? Here's a tricky part. For those of us who are in the healing community, we have a challenge because anybody on the healing path has to understand that for those of us who struggle with shame and rejection and abandonment, our brain is actually wired to avoid looking within. So if I am not my thoughts, but in order for me to gain control over my thoughts, I have to learn to look within. That is going to be quite difficult as a trauma survivor or somebody who is just not accustomed to looking within. That might be very difficult for me to do. Mindful is actually a strange word because to be mindful is to be empty of mind. It's to empty your mind. Empty your mind of what? Nonsensical thoughts, mental chatter, codependent thoughts, dysfunctional beliefs. Mindfulness means I am emptying my mind of thoughts completely. I am learning to observe the space. Inside each of us, if we're conscious human beings, is the ability to tap into the space or the gap. So if you think about a sentence, right? Think about Jane went to the store. In between every word is a space. Jane went to the store. If we could slow down our mind and we could suspend ourselves in the space between our words, then we can learn to be mindful. And in that space, as we extend the ability to stay in the space between our words, what we can do then is in that space, we can learn to observe our thoughts. And as you learn to observe a thought, you're detaching from the thought. And miracles show up when you learn that you are not your thoughts, that you have the ability to observe your thought. You have the ability to do this, which can completely turn your life around. Because most beings are unaware they're unaware. There's this recycling that happens for us as human beings. And if we're not careful, then we will identify with our thoughts. We will believe that our thoughts are us. So if I get angry, I will merge with that anger. I will react to that anger. My brain will work to justify the anger and the actions that come from that behavior. If I can learn to observe my anger, and if I can learn, those are my feelings. If I can learn to observe my feelings, and if I can learn to observe the thoughts that come in relation to those feelings, then I can actually process my emotions. I can stay detached from my thoughts and my feelings. I can suspend my need to continue thinking negative thoughts, and I can learn to be more mindful. I become the awareness of the being or the emotions experienced by this being or this consciousness. I can be aware of the thoughts that are being experienced through consciousness, just observing, almost like watching television. When you're watching television, you're seated on a couch, presumably, and you're watching things flash on a screen. When you awaken the awareness within you, when you become the observer, then it's like turning on a television and seeing an emotion and watching a thought stream go by. So television is very much like a stream of consciousness. It all depends on what the viewer is turned into. So you're able to actually watch whatever it is you wish to watch. And like on television, you're observing a stream of consciousness. The goal is to get to a point where you are non-reactive to whatever is streaming into your consciousness. That's the first level, right? So there's even more. You can learn to direct the flow of your consciousness, which is what mastering the quantum world is really all about. When you're able to master the stream of consciousness that is flowing through the conscious field, you are coming from a state of higher awareness. And from the state of higher awareness, you have an idea of where you want to go in the 3D world. Now, that is thought form that's coming from a non-physical place. So it's thought form. So your consciousness is actually able to observe where you want to go, even though that's in the future. But you're watching and observing the stream of consciousness, and in real time, you are able to affect where your thoughts go. So if I'm having a negative thought about my husband and I quickly catch it, and one of the ways that I use to catch it is I say to myself, is that a reality that I wish to participate in? Am I wishing to create that reality in the future? And so when I have negative thoughts, I've trained myself to catch myself. And then I ask myself, is this what I want to create in the future? And if the answer is no, then I pull back my consciousness as far as I can. I think about what I want to manifest and I flow my focus in that direction. I would not be able to do that today if I did not understand that I am not my thoughts. And I am not my feelings. I am experiencing thought. I am experiencing feelings. And I have the ability to create what I want as much as humanly possible in a 3D world, as long as I stay the observer of my inner experiences, which include my emotions and my thoughts. Now, for those of us who come from a trauma background, this is not easy to do. We're dealing with triggers. We may be living with alcoholics or living with people who have addictions. We may be still living with a narcissist, but it is possible to gain control over your consciousness. It absolutely is. I'm proof of it. And the people who participate in my online coaching programs, like the 12-week breakthrough coaching program, as well as my Quantum Tools Masterclass, are proof that you can gain control over the conscious field. Remember, you are not your thoughts. And if you'd like more information on how you can become a better master of your reality, check out my blog at www.lisaaromano.com. You can also check out my book, Quantum Tools to Help You Heal Your Life Now, full of tools that you can use to help you master your consciousness and master your reality. Bye for now.
This bad